Nice dance move there, Philippe. Maybe a little John Travolta-y. So, getting started. So I've removed, first item, I've removed from the agenda from this meeting, the individual features and things for specific teams, and instead they'll be discussed in meetings for each feature. And individual team meetings. We already have one for first-class vulnerabilities. We'll be creating one for container and application team, where WAF and container network security will be discussed. Kind of similar to what we're doing for that first-class vulns meeting. Any feedback on this? Ideas to improve? Good idea? Bad idea? No strong opinions?
I think that at least in the beginning, it might mean extra meetings for folks, at least given the size of our front-end team. There's not really, you're assigned to first-class vulnerabilities versus container and app security. Over time, as we grow, I expect that to be less, though. So in the beginning, and for folks like Cindy, that'll always be the case. So as long as no one's got a concern with the two separate meetings, I think it's a great idea.
But I'll scribe today as well. But no, that's definitely very valid concern. What do the folks think?
I will vocalize that instead of writing it. We should keep in mind that we are async first. So as Lindsay said, the only problem with that is other people like Cindy or other people outside of the team might have issues following up what's really happening. So it should be issues first and the synchronization points if needed, but not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Both good points. So async is the first choice that people should make. Issues first, Slack second, and meeting is last. It's good to sync up, and periodically, but it shouldn't be what people depend on primarily. Absolutely. And it's also going to be, we don't have everybody in that first-class phones meeting who's working on it every time. Right, so people can't make it. We have most people, but probably not everybody. It's just using that as a base, and that's working out quite well. So people come when they can, when they have something interesting to discuss. They listen to the recording and read the notes if they can't make it, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll do all those good best practices.
I just want to note on that one, I think we created that meeting series specifically because it was we'll call it a BHP, a big hairy problem, and it was something that was dragging on. So I think that meeting series in general was kind of the exception, not the rule, and it does have an end date on it.
Yeah, it's a good point. We'll probably be creating a separate meeting since that team is primarily working on your team, Matt, primarily working on first-class vulns. It's going to turn into from a first-class vulns meeting to a meeting for the team. First-class vulns and anything else the team wants to discuss, and this would be a separate one. And this meeting in particular, this defense staff meeting, should get to be much shorter as we do this. Is that reasonable? Does that make sense?
So more kind of like a day or like a weekly team stand-up?
Yeah. I think
not to ruin later topics on the agenda, but that would also give us an opportunity to do some of that work, the planning breakdown or like early looks at issues before we assign them off to someone as grooming or they get scoped into a milestone.
Yep, sounds good.
Or they become big hairy problems, Matt.
So, well, I'll get it scheduled and then and put it on the calendar. And this is not, of course, in concrete. Nothing is. We'll change things over time to make it more efficient. Anything else on this? Lindsay, over to you.
I think it's a great transition to the second topic as well. If we do have more synchronous meetings, we need to have ways for people who are sleeping at night or not able to attend to learn that information, as well as show our general community how the Defend team works. So we've been starting to get better about posting our videos to Unfiltered, especially the Defend playlist on there. And this is just a reminder, I think it should be the default. We should plan on always posting our meetings to Unfiltered unless something comes up in the course of the conversation around a candidate or a customer And I want to encourage anyone who's doing the meeting themselves, if you own or you start the meeting and own the Zoom link, you can set it up to do the live streaming versus having to upload a recording, which saves you a lot of time and effort. And you don't have to go hunting down someone to say, did you get that recording of that meeting? Because I've been doing a lot of policing people for posting or sharing meeting recordings. So this is just a friendly reminder to everyone. This isn't just for the staff meeting or, you know, individual meetings, but in general to benefit the rest of the team. Try and make that your standard practice.
Yeah, cool. I definitely agree. And it says, I went through all the unfiltered videos. I just searched for the word defend and added them to the defend playlist. Very few were in there. Some of them probably don't belong exactly. They're from a long time ago, but it's still, it's when secure and defend were combined that some of them, you know, going back a long time ago, but we can edit it. But, you know, there's now a good list out there and it's been added to our team page. So people can easily find it. So was last week's video posted to Unfiltered? I think Philippe, you initiated the recording. That doesn't mean necessarily you need to post it to Unfiltered, but how do we just make sure it gets posted? How do we make sure last week's meeting gets posted? Who can do that?
This goes back to the problem of it being the responsibility of whoever started the meeting. Only one person can do that at this point, unless they've set up their Zoom meeting for streaming. So
right. So Philippe,
and
can we just try
was
course
me,
correct
yeah.
going forward?
yes, I think Philippe, you have that job
All right, let me add it.
for
to
last
the-
week and for today.
Sure, we did that.
That's good. Cool. What do other folks think? All right. So working to get all the MR stats, so number 3 here, working to get all the merge request statistics correct for the defend team. And I updated a couple different things. I updated the query that pulls in which people are on the team. That's actually a SQL query in Periscope. And done some other research, and the defend project. Well, actually, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first thing is we want to make sure we have the right tags on the MRs, so they're listed for our team, which is not a hard and fast rule. Some things are a judgment call. So everybody's went back and confirmed about the tags that they've done that, except for Lucas, Philippe, and Daniel. So if I don't think Lucas and Daniel are not on. So Philippe, if you could take a look at that, and Thomas and Lindsay nudge Lucas and Daniel on that. There's no rush on that, but if you could do that, you know, today, do that today, tomorrow, or this week, that'd be great. And thanks for everybody else for doing it. The only thing is, we're almost at the end of the month. I saw a message from my boss, Christopher, earlier today saying we're almost over the number on the most MRs ever at GitLab in a month across the whole company. So the more we get the tags right and other things right, you know, the better. So sound reasonable?
Yes, so just curious, how do you know that I'm lagging behind on the labels? Is there a page where you saw that, or a search or anything?
On what the label should be?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's linked to the issue. If not, I know, Lindsay, you updated you look at the main defend page. Lindsay updated the main defend page with that info. Let me find that real quick, because I'll put in the notes.
Yeah, there were some questions to do about how to label issues when we're working outside of our group. You know, Daniel, for example, had an onboarding issue. He picked up a pretty low-hanging fruit, good for first-time contributors, that didn't have anything to do with defend or any of our group topics at all, but just, and I reached out, and I think it was Olivier who sort of pointed out the documentation that agreed with Wayne that it's still appropriate to put our group labels on issues that people on our team worked, even if it's way out of our sort of wheelhouse. So if it's still, if the conversation is in that issue, if anyone wants to contribute to it.
Yeah,
it felt a little weird to me.
In my case,
that's
going to be a problem in my case, because I'm also part of of Secure. So if I, for example, currently I'm working on this performance as, yeah. So
it's not every single one. It's ones where it wasn't done before and should have been or can be done in arrears, and it's a judgment call, right?
Yeah. All right.
But to Philippe's point, as long as we have resources who aren't dedicated to defend, these metrics aren't going to have the same meaning that we'd like them to have, right? Because you're going to have one person who's putting time towards defend as well as secure in other areas. So you say you've got MRs per person, but you're only showing a fraction of that. So I feel like we're starting to understand these metrics and get them correct so that as the team grows, that trend becomes something we can rely on. Right now, I think it's a little misleading though.
Agreed. Which goes into the second topic here, related one, or the next one. So which project should be part of Defend metric? So I've got an MR that is waiting on approval. The Defend project is not included yet at all in the MR metrics. It's so I've got a merge request in there to add that, working with the data team. They I guess have a CSV file where they list what projects are quote unquote part of the project. Like the handbook is not part of the project. It's not included. If folks can confirm on how, if you take a look at that MR, if somebody other than me could look at that and say, does that include, will that make it so that all the Defend projects are included? That would be great. So can someone review that MR? Just make sure it looks like it's correct to include the right projects.
Thomas, have you played with that before?
Say again, Philippe, please.
I was asking Thomas if he knows a bit more about Periscope and all that kind of metrics.
What I was trying to remember is that there was a shift in how we were collecting this information that happened late in 2019, where it was intentionally trying to only capture contributions against projects that were customer facing. And so I was trying to find the issue where that work was done and verify my memory of it, and allow that to inform if that allow that to speak to verifying the MR. At least that's what was in my head.
Well, yeah, that's good. So in my opinion, just my first our demo project should be included, for example, where we're showing customers how to enable Cilium and how to use it, how to enable the WAF and how to use it. That's probably, an on the fence thing though, if those should be included or not. So, okay.
Yep, and I'm just going off memory, so that's dangerous. So I'm trying to find the issue. But.
Okay. So the other one is our Cilium MR, our changes to Cilium itself, the open source project. We've got the MRs in, thanks Lucas and Arthur and Philippe and others that worked on that, getting that in there as a way to track those. They're not merged yet. I don't know, Arthur's not on today, I don't think. Not a good time.
I guess he's out of office today.
Yeah. Did you say you can merge them, Philippe?
Which one exactly? Sorry. The ones that are.
Yeah, they just need to be merged. The changes, it's basically a one-line change to the file, each one referencing each change to Cilium. They just need to be merged. They're waiting to be merged.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Lucas for that, because the initial idea was to have a specific label so that we can track a metric on the contributions that we are making in the community. And there is no label as far as I know. Yeah, there is no label no specific label on this.
Yeah, so unless I'm misunderstanding, it's a file that we're updating. We're not doing it via label. We just have a file, basically I think it's a README file that then gets updated with a merge request, each with a link to where our updated Cilium for each one, and that will actually count as a merge for us.
Yes. So the initial idea was to be able to measure the number of contributions that we are also doing in the community, and that was discussed in the group discussion last week on Monday, where we came up with the idea of having a page where we would add every single contribution to the community, whatever project it is, and we would label every single of these merge requests with a specific label so that we can track that and have a metric in the end, so that we can put that somewhere in the GC or in the, I don't know, there is some page that was linked. So we need to add this label. I was waiting for Lucas to answer that specific topic, but is out of office until tomorrow. I can create that label today if you want, or wait for Lucas.
I think waiting for Lucas is fine. This is not a needs to be fixed today or even this week thing. It'd be great if it were, but it's about long-term metric tracking. So, okay, it can wait. Anything else on this item? Lindsay, you've got the next item?
Sure. So there's been a lot of conversation going on about ways to improve our predictability, ways to be able to have better assurance that when we believe that we have our scope of a release, that we can hit that goal. So, for Cindy, who's on the call for PMM, who's marketing what we have upcoming in our roadmap, we want to be able to be as accurate as possible so she's not becoming a liar. We like Cindy, we don't make her a liar. So just in that ongoing effort, which I do think is an ongoing improvement process for every team, the secure team started a document that I kind of hijacked. I want to make sure I give them credit where credit's due. So Olivier and Thomas and folks from the secure team started an analysis of their planning process and areas of improvement. And I agreed so wholeheartedly with their first step that I plagiarized it completely and I made this document. The idea being, first of all, I went and looked at what our process was. And you can just review the document yourself in your own time. I'm not asking anyone to start this process today. I'm just trying to explain the thought behind it and see if everyone is on board or has feedback. After looking at our process, one area that we really thought that we could improve at is helping the PM team in earlier phases of planning as they start to break down their ideas into issues. So by having engineering participating in the work breakdown planning, I think it solves a lot of problems. It gives the engineering team more insight into what PM is thinking as they start to groom stories. They're not just looking at them cold. It gives the PM team sort of a better advice on how to better break down stories into logical, smaller sub-issues. And it also lets us ask these kind of big, hairy questions earlier, so we're not waiting till like the week or right before execution is supposed to begin on the milestone, or that we've committed to the scope of the milestone. So we talked earlier about having group-wide meetings. The hope is that a portion of those group-wide meetings can be dedicated to this planning breakdown, where as a team we can go through the upcoming issues in the next milestone and ask these questions. And it's all documented here in this page. I don't need to go through it for you guys. Over time, the hope would be that we don't have as much of a backlog of these issues to break down, and it's more on a as they're created basis, and we're just doing housekeeping. Right now, 12.8's already in flight. We're not going to make a lot of changes there because we know that folks have already started working on things. Hopefully, if there's something that's not clear, you've already raised that to the appropriate PM or your EM. But for 12.9, we would like to try this process on and see if it helps people or if it's too heavy and time consuming. This isn't written in stone. It's just a proposal to improve.
And it's all based, if I understand it right, it's all based on, starts with what's in the handbook and and also some of what Secure does to base it. So that, when you didn't invent this from scratch, it's all basically taking that and then trying to customize it as needed for our teams. I think it's great.
That's exactly right, Wayne. I took the two links that you can see here, the product development workflow and our defend planning pages, to try and kind of summarize how those two things create a schedule for us. So I guess as you review this document, if any of that seems totally wrong, let me know, because I might have misinterpreted something. Yeah, it's just about starting the conversation earlier and including, in general, one of the things that I was uncomfortable with the fact that we assign off grooming to individuals and that those individuals are not necessarily the people that end up working on the issue. So you might end up getting an issue assigned to yourself that you've never seen before. I'd like to avoid that and at least give people some insights, start the conversation early, raise red flags. Thoughts?
Now, I got a preview of it, so I was able to read it in advance, and I'm a big fan. That being said, I don't think everybody else has gotten a chance.
That spawned this. Am I missing any sort of big points here? No?
No, I'm definitely in favor of this. Do we already have meetings on the calendar where we can do some of this grooming, or is that something that needs to be set up?
That's something that needs to be set up. And we talked earlier in this call about how we currently have this first class vulnerabilities weekly meeting that was intended to be a feature meeting. It wasn't intended to be a ongoing group level meeting. Like Matt said, it has an end date. What we're proposing is introducing these meetings. What I wasn't sure of is, given the size of the team and the scope of our groups right now, does it make sense to have 2 meetings or 1? We talked earlier about having 2. I know as the team grows and these groups become more solidified, it definitely makes sense to have 2, but that's up for discussion whether we split the 2 groups right now or sort of have another stage-wide meeting, at least initially, for this.
So, I mean, I know I put that weekly sync meeting for product management and the engineering managers on the calendar. I don't know that that's necessarily the best place to do all of the grooming, but I at least envisioned some of those initial discussions that you're talking about happening as part of that meeting.
If you look at this document, Sam, and look at week 1, I would assume that there's a lot.
Yeah.
I believe there are a lot of conversations that happen at the PM/EM level that we wouldn't want to take up time from the individual contributors. But I feel like this topic is one that the doers, the people that are actually solving the problem and creating the code, should have the opportunity, or should be at the core of, really.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm new and I don't know all the answers yet. I really believe that. So for the sake of this call, given that, for time, and I'm tired, it's so early in the morning, you guys, read over this document, use this document as a way to collaborate. I have an MR already linked to from here with suggested updates to our handbook page. Let's collaborate on this. I don't want this to just be me. And I'll make sure that I put this into the Defend channel and Slack as well for folks who aren't here. Don't sit down to watch the video.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting this together. Jonathan, you want to cover Lucas's question?
Sure. He's asking about canceling the Defend office hours. I think we've used it twice in the time that we've had it set up, and the last time was kind of a walkthrough from dedicated walkthrough from the guy talking about Elasticsearch. And so I see Thomas saying about canceling the series. It originally was set up to kind of get, like, we had so many new people on the team, getting everybody up to speed, working through any kind of issues that we were having together. And I think any issues going forward are more going to be along the lines of individual groups and individual projects. So as far as my thoughts is, I think we can go ahead and cancel that and have ad hoc sync ups as necessary, but keeping things in the Slack channel also works.
Yep. I'll concur and confirm. Yeah, the original intent of this is that we had so many people having the same problems on development environment setup. And since they were all happening at the same time, let's get together and support each other. We're past that problem now. So let's, I would agree it's time to cancel it. So if engineers are ready, we can do so.
And I think one of the other things that we had set it up for was kind of a coffee chat type thing, like slash thing. But we also have the Secure and Defend coffee chat at 8:30 on Monday. Well, 8:30 Central Time on Monday morning. Which I don't know if this is kind of like a tangent, but I don't know if a lot of our team really can make that, because I know we have Zamir and Daniel out west further. Arthur is asleep at that time. He's asleep now, hopefully. And it's
there is a morning and night. Well, from my perspective, there's a morning and night version of that. I don't know how many people are coming. There's one that works for North America, one that works for APAC.
I think as long as you're not on the west coast of the U.S., there's a time that works for everyone.
Yeah, well,
that's a good point. It doesn't work.
Even Mountain Time. Mountain Time's rough because it's 7:30. That's 7:30 a.m. For Zamir. And
Yeah.
it's
So perhaps we should have we have a separate, well, I don't know, yet another meeting. I hate the thought of yet another meeting, but it isn't working for a good portion of the team because it doesn't work for West Coast US or
Yeah.
West Coast North America.
I can talk to Ross about that because I think he's the one who set it all up.
Maybe if he makes it later in the day,
Yeah.
the coffee chat, then it'll work for West Coast US.
For
Again,
folks
we're
who
trying to
have
catch
gone,
the guys in
is
Europe too.
attendance good? Do people go and talk?
Yeah, I've been the last couple weeks. The only one from our, I think it was the only one from our team that went. Most of the team couldn't. Really, just it's not a really good time for them.
Daniel joined last night.
Okay.
So okay, yeah. So I mean, the evening one I haven't been to. That one's like 7 o'clock my time. That's when I'm trying to wrangle kids to bed. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, it sounds good. Thomas, you have another comment on this? You want to verbalize it?
Yeah. So what I would like to do is, okay, so it sounds like there's consensus. We've outgrown office hours. We can cancel the series. And what I would like to do is claim that time next Monday for a different conversation. So pod logs, manage applications into pod logs is something that we're currently blocked on. There's a question of, is there anything we can do in an interim basis that would unblock that particular feature? And would like to claim that time for a brainstorming session. It's time reserved on the calendar already. So why not take advantage of it? The item that is not written here because it's late breaking addition. So in other words, so this is breaking news. So from our live field reporter out in security, name intentional, is that they have been working on a project by the name of Delkey that involves ingesting logs from various different production environments and into an Elasticsearch cluster. And so they have volunteered to demo the work that they have done, and maybe that might spur some thoughts, or it might provide us a launching point for this type of feature. So anyway, they're volunteering to come and show their work as well, and also participate in our brainstorming sessions with their experience. So,
What's the project called again, Thomas?
Delkey, D-E-L-K-E. Part of the invite will be a link to their README as well as their issue board, so we can see the work that they've been doing as well as the work that's on their current roadmap, or their issues they're chasing. And what Jason's requested, and I agree with, is we'll have a dedicated Google Doc for an agenda where people can post specific questions in advance. In that agenda doc will include links to those two resources.
Well, can you put a link to their stuff in the notes? I put a line item in there.
Sure.
But yeah, if you could put a link so we can take a look at it later. Cool. Yep. That's great. And I had another thing on the item, but we're out of time, and it wasn't high priority, so we can save it for next week. And Philippe, remember, you got the job of posting last week's and this week's meeting to the YouTube. So
I will do that.
Awesome. You don't need that job forever, but you get it for last week and this week.
That's fine. As soon as we have an honor for that, that's good.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Good to see you, Zamir. We haven't heard from you today, but still good to see you. Cheers.